tonight to an industry which is quite simply booming. Computer games bring in a massive £4 billion to this country's economy, and a lot of that is down to work being done right here in Yorkshire.
Yes, in this region we have more than 30 gaming companies which employ around 700 people, and 3 of those companies are in the world's top 100.
Yesterday, thousands of video gamers, as they're called, arrived in Leeds with the chance of playing the latest releases before anyone else. Because for the first time, the Eurogamer Expo is being held outside London. It's a really big deal, and Alan Whitehouse can tell us why.
Well, Yorkshire's emerging as one of the major centres of the gaming industry. As you say, 3 or 4 of the top 100 companies are based right here. And of course, that's attracting a sort of a critical mass of designers and support industries behind them. So let's have a look and see what this expo is really all about. It's the biggest computer game show in Europe, and it's come to Leeds. They queued round the block to get in here and to get their hands on some of the newest and best games in the world.
You don't play board games, you don't play things like that anymore. People want to play games, they want to have something realistic, something to get a hold of and get their teeth into.
Some can be addictive, you know, like Call of Duty, for example. You can play that constantly and just not get bored. It's amazing.
The games, I know the ones, you know, with the storylines, I like watching them, so that's all I'm here for.
And why are there so few girls here?
Because it's a boys' world and boys think they rule it, don't they, so they like all their games.
Computer games are still seen by many as something only for teenage nerds. But industry experts say that idea's out of date. These days, apparently, almost everyone plays games. Everyone, that is, except me.
Now, the thing about gaming is that you can be anything you want to be. I mean, I'm not a racing driver and never will be, but blimey, this sure as hell beats the commute into work. Believe it or not, this is pretty much how I look at the weekends. You know, a bit of a tough guy, the leather jacket. And this is how I spend my time. So this one's for you, editor. But, you know, maybe in the end, this is the game for me, a lot gentler. They say that anyone from toddlers to pensioners can do this, so here we go. 10 years ago, you would have needed a PC to run a game like this. These days, you can have it on your phone. It's just a sign of how this industry is developing.
But there's a serious side to all this too. Yorkshire's universities are in on the act. They run some of the best games development courses in the country, seen as vital to nurturing the next generation of games developers.
Culturally now, video games are really, really significant, both economically but also culturally, because to a lot of people, actually games are more important than television and film and often music. Certainly, you know, it's worth more than the music industry. So it's a hugely important industry, both to the region and to the country.
Oh, and if you want to know how it should be done, well, here's an expert at work. Amazingly realistic, isn't it? Well, one of those world-beating companies is just down the road in Sheffield, and Emma Glasby's been along to take a closer look.
This is Cletus Clay. Made entirely in Sheffield, it's now facing the ultimate test. It's being played by Britain's biggest games fans at the Eurogamer Expo.
This is the first time we've ever shown any of our games really at a public event. I don't think we're nervous, I think we're quite proud actually. When we've shown it to people before, individually or at companies, and we have had the somewhat natural assumption that it's probably sort of a game for guys, teenagers and 20-somethings. But in fact, it's really appealed to a lot of women as well.
The clay models you see in the game are made in a small office in Sheffield. Tuner Technologies is an independent firm that's managed to be successful despite the recession.
The game industry at the moment is in a state of flux, whereby a lot of the old traditional games companies are struggling a little bit. For ourselves, as a small independent studio, we've now got the opportunity to exploit our new ideas and be more creative in ways that we could never have done before. So for us, it's actually a very exciting time.
No, I have nothing to kick. Oh.
So the Eurogamer Expo is do or die for games like Cletus Clay. The die-hard fans will be back at the Royal Armouries tomorrow to test it out. London will have to wait until later this week to see the games second-hand. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North.
Well, joining me now is Jamie Sefton from Screen Yorkshire. Now, they were partly responsible for getting the Expo to Leeds in the first place. But Jamie, this is all very impressive, clearly a big industry. But what's its real worth to Yorkshire's economy in hard cash terms?
Well, the UK games industry was worth £4 billion last year, and Yorkshire takes a significant slice of that. We have 3 of the top 100 games developers in the world in the region, companies like Team 17, which you saw in the reports. But for us at Screen Yorkshire, it was all about kind of bringing the Eurogamer Expo here so that we could get more investment, more business for games companies in the region.
Well, the real world, of course, is going through a pretty tough time right now with the credit crunch and the recession. How's the virtual world of computer simulation handling that?
Well, we're certainly not Teflon coated, you know, as an industry. A few of our companies have found it quite tough in these economic times, but saying that, companies have bucked the trend, and some of them are doing better than they've ever done before. Like we mentioned again, Team 17 with the game Worms, a #1 hit in the US. So we're kind of we're bucking the trend. We're punching above our weight, if you like.
Okay, Jamie, thanks for joining us this evening. It's greatly appreciated. Well, that's the way things are looking here. Certainly, I mean, all the names that mean next to nothing to me, Wii, PlayStation, Xbox. If you're into this, I would have said come along and have a look, but the truth is this entire 2 days is completely sold out, which tells you all you need to know.
I love it when you talk technical to me, Alan,
How
as
can
well.
you not know about Wii and things like that?
Absolutely. I mean, you must be
Wii
across
Fit
things
and all
like that.
that kind of thing.
And tomorrow, we'll be revealing which toys will make it into the top 10 on the top 10 wanted list for Christmas, with more traditional games